So everybody has heard what happened in Cowley yesterday. Thankfully, there was not nobody really injured apart from a girl who tripped. This fellow shot himself. The fellow had the gun, shot himself. Nobody else was injured. Thankfully, nobody was killed. Nobody else was killed apart from the perpetrator that shot himself. But it was a very scary incident because again it was an automatic weapon. As you know yourself, it's very hard to get a gun in this country. Thankfully, it is. You need license, you need to have the weapon secured, weapon cabinets, etc., etc. It's very hard to get it. So, and this fellow who done the shooting was on bail for weapons violations, for firearm offences. Very serious firearm offences, may I add. Buying assault weapons, because again, assault weapons, the only people who have assault weapons in this country, no only Joe can have assault weapons, is the military and, on God, they shouldn't call it the armed support unit. No other individual in this country has assault weapons. You're not allowed to have them, simple as that. They're too powerful. The dangerous thing only Irish people would have, it's shotguns, double barrel shotguns. The majority of farmers would have them, but that well secured, etc., licensed, etc. There's a lot of laws around that, and thankfully so. But yeah, how this individual got bail for this, because again it's a serious violation on the dark web. Again, we have to look into all the details behind him. What else did he get in the dark web? Who else is he in touch with? Very dangerous stuff. Again, assault rifles, very, very dangerous stuff. So it's a miracle how nobody else was killed in this situation yesterday, because this is extremely high-powered weapon. Weapon of war, may I use, not an only civilian weapon. This is a weapon of war. But first of all, there's huge questions how the judge let this fellow out in the street in the first place. Because to be totally honest, he should have been locked up. He should have never been allowed to do this in the first place. Particularly because again, it's not like he wasn't known to have it. He's already been convicted of firearms offences. And it goes to the next point I'm going to talk about too, because in relation to this is the fact of the lone individual. What I'm trying to say is the lone individual. There's no way of really preventing this. There was a way of preventing that he could have been locked up. But in terms, we just go back to the Liverpool car incident where the person ran across people in his car. There's no way of really preventing this. What I'm trying to say is a lone individual, taking a car, taking a weapon, take for example a knife or whatever. There's no way of preventing this. Like if it's a group of individuals, a group of terrorists, take for example, you could try and intercept that. But with a lone wolf, that's what they call a lone wolf, it's hard to do it. And I suppose this is the first time in Ireland. There was gangland, don't get me wrong. We remember the Regency Hotel where they dressed up as got members of the armed support unit went in and shot up a boxing venue. That was a good few years ago. But that's really the only time we've seen assault rifles like AK, well not really AKs, but assault rifles like that being used in this country, because again they're very well, as you see, a lot of the Gardaí in this country, all the Gardaí pretty much apart from the armed support and detectives, are unarmed. They don't have any firearms. They have batons. A lot of them don't have tasers. But it's a serious thing to happen in the country for somebody to get high power weapons of war, because this is what they are, weapons of war. They're not for really civilian use, they're for mass shooting in war situations in Ukraine, for example, in the Middle East. They're not really civilian use. That's why they've never been really allowed in this country, because there's not really much need for you to have an assault rifle on hand. Whatever about a shotgun and stuff to protect your farm or hunting or whatever, that's allowed. But there's a lot to be said here. But a lot of questions need to be asked about the justice system in this country. Because again, this is not stealing a box of sweets from the shop. Because again, take for example, this found if a person didn't pay their TV license, they'd be locked up. It doesn't make much sense why somebody who literally bought a weapon on the dark web, illegally of course, and imported into the country illegally, was allowed to just walk out on bail. It's anybody's guess how this was allowed to happen, because it shouldn't have been allowed to happen. Let's be fair, it shouldn't have been, because it's a lot of stuff. But thankfully, he's supposed to have an explosive on him, but I don't think that was credible. So it's very shocking thing. But thankfully, nobody else was killed apart from the perpetrator. And the girl that was hurt only fell, I think, on the way out. So hopefully she makes a full look. And obviously the members of the public who are there, going about the Sunday evening, doing a bit of shopping, enjoying the good weather, because it was a good day yesterday. In terms of weather-wise, people were out just hanging about, chilling out on a Sunday evening before going back to work Tuesday, because today's a bank holiday. No member of the public should have had to come across this incident, because again, you would be terrified hearing an automatic weapon, especially in Ireland, supposed to be a peaceful country. And this doesn't happen all the time. But yeah, in Ireland nowadays it kind of does. Everything has gone to hell pretty much. In a lot of regards, every day of the week there's something. But again, it's I'm sure everybody would agree it's a miracle how nobody else was killed. Because again, this individual could have took many people's lives with this kind of weapon, and especially ammunition. He had loads of ammunition with him. He could have took many people's lives, and thankfully that didn't happen. But it's and a lot of questions need to be asked, as I say, because I keep going over this because it's inconceivable how a judge, if somebody bought an assault rifle on the dark web, could say, yeah, we let you out on bail, you seem like a genuine person, we let you out, we give you the benefit of the doubt, we let you off with it, basically, we let you out on bail, you can go around and do whatever you want. It's anybody's guess, because I know people who didn't pay their TV license and they knew would send you to prison for life for not paying your TV license, and if you didn't pay your parking fine they would go mad. So I don't know what's wrong with this country, first of all, that if you have an assault rifle, we will let you off with it, basically, and see what happened, and that's the thing. So we have to get a lot more tougher in terms of violations like this, weapons violations particularly. They should be taken very seriously, should be, but in reality they're not. But it's the same with everything, the same with assaults, etc, etc. People getting far too lenient sentences, suspended sentences, bail. There shouldn't be. It should be a very tough system in dealing with criminals and people who break the law, because again, this person was a threat to all of society, for doing this, for getting this assault rifle. Because let's be fair, he wasn't getting it for recreational use. There's nothing unless he was going to hunt. So it was pretty, unless he was going to get it for his own collection, but it's pretty obvious that he had ill intentions from the start. Because not many people would want an assault rifle in this country. What about in other countries? It's a different story, but not really here, as I say. But it's a miracle how nobody else was severely hurt and killed. Yes, it's a miracle. We have to be thankful for that. But again, as I say, the biggest threat to the state at the moment, and I've said this just about Liverpool, take for example, is the lone wolf individual. Because again, this fellow, as we know at the moment, maybe there was somebody else behind it, but as we know, this fellow acted alone. There was nobody else with him. There wasn't two gunmen. There was only one gunman. So that's the biggest threat. Because again, these lone wolves, you can never guess whether it would strike and stuff like that. But again, what we have to do as a country, and again, it's a sad thing to say, but it's the truth, that we have to kind of be ready for these kind of incidents of lone wolf attacks, cow attacks, shootings, mass shootings like this, unfortunately, because that's the world it's coming to at the moment. It's an unfortunate thing to say, but it is the truth, and we have to kind of be ready for this, because this we have to kind of be ready, because that's the world that we're living in at the moment. And it's unfortunate to say, but it is sadly the truth. And it's better to be prepared than not to be prepared. But hopefully it never comes to that again. But again, it's always good to be prepared for these incidents to happen. Because years ago you could trust society that things wouldn't happen. What's happening now in the Western world, but nowadays we can't, unfortunately, because you just don't know. And again, the system has to be more tougher too in dealing with these individuals. To protect members of society, protect law-abiding citizens, going about the day-to-day business. Nobody should have to be afraid of being killed on the street. But it's sadly a lot of people in this country are at the moment. They're afraid to go outside their door. And there's a lot of things that could be addressed by that. But the last thing I leave it on tonight is, it is a worrying state of affairs. I'm sure every Irish citizen would agree with me. That everybody in the country is talking about this at the moment. It's a very dangerous situation, and thankfully it can arise again, unfortunately, because as we've seen, this fellow could get this weapon into the country, and unfortunately it can happen. If one person could, it probably can happen again if the rules and the law is not stricter in terms of cracking down on these people. But anyway, let me know what you think, and we'll leave it there. Thank you.